here now with Maggie Lindemann. If you have not heard of her yet, you must be living under a rock because she is everywhere. Just sold out some shows in, I think, less than 2 minutes. So things are going crazy well for her. Maggie, thank you so much for being on. How are you today?
Of course. Thanks for having me. I am good.
I heard you also just got out of a session of some sorts. Was that a music session or photo?
Yeah, it was a music session. I just wrote a song.
Very cool. Well, I mean, speaking of songs, you just came out with a new record, and apparently you're already writing another record. Suckerpunch just dropped. How has that release been going? I know you released, a bunch of singles beforehand, kind of did the waterfall thing, but now that the full record's out, how does it feel to be able to step back and just really look at what you've accomplished and how it's doing?
It's kind of crazy because I've been making music for like 7 years, and it's the first time I've put out an album, which is kind of crazy, but I'm really grateful that I didn't put out an album before this one because I think it probably would have been really bad. But I don't know, it's just like really cool, and it's really cool to see everyone's response, and it still feels like surreal. Like people ask me that and I just like don't even know because it's like I've been sitting on this project for it feels like forever.
Yeah.
So for it to finally be like out in the world, it's like I don't know, it's just weird. It's like hard to process.
So you had a bunch of singles released before the full record. Out of the songs you didn't release in advance, what is the song that is either your favorite or just resonates the most with you?
I have a couple of favorites. I think Girl Next Door, Take Me Nowhere, and Hear Me Out are probably like three of my favorites that weren't singles. Um, I still say like I Self Sabotage was a single, but I still think Self Sabotage like resonates most with me always. Like I self sabotage really bad, so
Yeah.
I think that song will always like relate to me the most.
So I'm going to take then a quick turn from where I was originally going to go since we kind of started this conversation. High school growing up, I know that, from what I had learned about you, you were bullied. You had to deal with different, high school things we all go through, feeling like you don't fit in. A lot of people are in that place right now, especially after the past few years. What kind of advice can you give someone who might be struggling with an issue of self or being bullied, depression, kind of being afraid of who they are? What's your advice for them to kind of break out of that and really be what they were meant to be?
I think like for me in school, the biggest thing that like I really wish I had listened to because I was told it all the time, but like I didn't listen, is that like high school, college, middle school, elementary school, all that stuff is like super temporary. That's just like a chunk of your life. Not even a chunk, like that's such a small section of your life. Once you're out of that, like it really is just like such a big world. So I think like I think that I just wish someone would have like really drilled into my head that like be yourself. First of all, be yourself always because like who cares what people at school think? You're gonna know those people for only like a small section of your life. And also like it's crazy because like I live in LA. I know like so many artists. I know so many like creative people, and every cool person in LA that I know was bullied or like was a weird kid in school. So I just think like don't let that get to you too much. Like the weird kids in school always grow up to be like the coolest kids.
Yeah.
And like it really is like just express yourself. I think that's like the biggest thing is like don't be scared to express yourself because like you're nervous what people are gonna say. Because genuinely like the coolest people in LA are like the weird people. And like I think the coolest artists are like the weird people. So
yeah. And it's good that people like yourself and other people are talking about it now. Many years ago, I ran an anti-bullying suicide prevention program for kids in schools. And, a lot of stuff people might not realize is actually happening in people's psyche and, with their day-to-day lives. So kind of like mental health, the fact that people are a lot more open about it now, I think is really helping society as a whole and, younger audiences, kids, to kind of overcome things and feel more comforted by the people around them. So
definitely.
Congrats to that. Now, in your opinion, because everyone kind of measures success a little differently, when you say there's a good response to it that you're seeing, is that to you, is that people actually interacting with the song online or posting things about it? Or is it about Spotify streams and what you see people doing there?
It's weird because like for me, I don't really like to look at streams too much. I like to see the in real life response. And I did two like pop-up things in record stores. And I asked like everyone that came through what their favorite song was off the album, and a lot of the like people's favorite songs were either Take Me Nowhere or We Never Even Dated, um, which are like Take Me Nowhere is my favorite song, but it's like probably the least conventional song on
Yeah.
the album, which is like really cool to hear. So I don't know, I like getting real life responses and
Yeah,
what
especially because
people
you
like.
as an artist, you what you think is cool as a song might be what's the most intricate musically, and the regular listener most of the time is just like, I want to hear something catchy. I want to hear something that resonates with me. So it's
Yeah,
always cool too when an artist and the fans do settle on like a favorite song that you wouldn't expect.
yeah, definitely.
Now, kind of outside of the music, we're in October, it's Halloween. You know, you have a lot of music videos and things you post that are on that darker side. What is your favorite horror movie?
I like the Saw franchise. I love Saw. I just saw Pearl, and
Okay.
that was really good too. It's not my favorite one, but I did just see Pearl, and it felt like a play the whole time or something, which was like really interesting. But I would say Saw is probably like my favorite. Um, I love all the Saw movies. They're so like I just like to think like would I be able to do that? Probably not.
And I mean, the fact that someone can keep thinking of all those crazy ways to torture people kind of concerns me about who actually makes the movies. But
Yeah.
no, I completely agree. And, you know, when they threw Chester in, you know, God rest his soul in the one movie, that was really cool to see. And
Hmm.
um, I mean, horror is just, there's so much cool stuff out there. Even a few years back when the Babadook came out, that was like a sleeper movie that scared the hell out of me. And it was,
Yeah.
you know, it was just great. So I'm happy we're finally back in this season.
Yes, me
So
too.
Swix, um, it's your label, but it's also your clothing that you do. Um, what made you decide not only to have a clothing company, but you know, how do you feel that connects with your music? Do you feel people find your music through the clothing sometimes, or vice versa? Um, what is it about, really? What is Swix? I don't even know what that means.
So Swix was my Tumblr username.
Wow,
I
that is
really
back
have
when.
yeah, I really don't know how I came up with it. That's been my Tumblr username since I was probably like in eighth grade. I honestly like don't know. I think like my favorite candy used to be Twix, so I'm like maybe it had something to do with that. I honestly don't remember. I just like made it up one day, but yeah, that it was my Tumblr username, and I just thought like that's a really cool name. I'm gonna use that. Um, and yeah, I think like for me, it's been really interesting with a clothing line that's not like my face, it's not merch or anything. It's just like a brand. Because a lot of people that don't know who I am or like don't listen to my music or anything will see Swix and Zoomies and just like fuck with it and just like want to have it.
Yeah.
And that's been interesting because like yeah, I have gotten a lot of people that are just like, oh, I found your brand, I love Swix, I had no idea who you were, I just like found you, whatever. But it's also cool because like people that also support me also just like support the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really interesting to see like I don't know, just the two sides of it.
Nice. So before the music, you wanted to be a pediatric oncology nurse.
Yeah.
Obviously, you are not doing that right now. So, kind of a two-part question. One, do you think that spirit for wanting to help people, especially younger people, is reflected in some of the stuff you do as a musician? And is that something you'd ever want to pursue, maybe, you know, after the music or when you're taking a break or something?
I don't think I'll ever pursue it because I don't think I'll ever be able to go to school for nursing. um, but I did side note, I was really looking into going to school for psychology for a second, but I'm not gonna do it. But I was not gonna do it. But I don't know. I think like I just really care about people. I'm definitely like an empath. Like when I feel people hurting, like I definitely hurt and like I want to fix people, like I want to help people. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if it reflects. Like I hope people feel that when they like meet me or they like just support me. I hope people can feel that I just genuinely really do care about people. Like I want the best for people. So I don't know.
And I think, a lot of times an artist's image necessarily online or in promo photos is completely different than how they are in real life. And sometimes people don't make that connection, and being able to see that you are a real person with real emotions who actually likes and wants to help people is something a lot of people don't necessarily see always.
Yeah.
And, I noticed, when I was looking up some things online, you were also, raised very Christian in the church and things like that. Has that, influenced you somewhat in where you are now, or?
I think like if like one thing being raised the way it taught me is just like to just like respect people and just like love people. And like forgive is like a big thing for me. Like I've just even learned over the years it's like forgiveness and stuff, because that has always been like I'm very hard on myself. Like I don't forgive myself very easily. So like forgiveness and stuff. But I don't know. I think like just the way I was raised obviously like shaped me who I am today. I think my parents did a really good job. I, was like a shitty teenager, and I think that I ended up okay. But yeah, I don't know. I think like just the way I was raised in general, like
yeah. I mean,
I don't think I would.
forgiveness, loving people, respect, all that. I think that's a lot. Just people all over the world kind of miss, you know, people screw up. It's who we are. Like you said, as a teenager, you were a teenager, being able to actually forgive people and, in turn, build better relationships with people is just, great all around, no matter who you are, what you believe, where you come from.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So one more thing, and I can cut this if you want, because I don't know if this is sensitive or anything like that. Or I guess two more things. One, you have a song, "Knife Under My Pillow," which is about you literally sleeping with a knife under your pillow. What kind of bred that? I don't know if it's paranoia or thought that something might happen to you.
Ever since I was little, I always watched a lot of scary movies. My dad like loved sci-fi movies and like really shitty scary movies. So we would watch those a lot. Uh I remember I saw Amityville Horror when I was like pretty young, and it like scarred me. So I don't know. I just like always had this fear that I was gonna get kidnapped. That was like my biggest fear as like a little kid. I was like terrified of that. And ever since like I can literally remember, I've always had really bad paranoia. I think over the past like couple years, it's gotten way worse. Like when I first moved to LA as a teenager, I'd forget to lock my front. I'd forget to like lock my front door, like stupid shit like that. Like I just didn't really care. But I think like as I've gotten older again, like I've seen the world and like I see how fucked up it is and scary it is. And I don't know. I've had some like weird situations, so I'm just like a little bit paranoid.
Paranoid, something might happen.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't help the more and more successful you get in the public eye. Everybody's all around you, wants to, talk to you and everything like that. And then the other thing I saw, and this happened to me at one point for no reason, you briefly got detained in another country.
Yeah.
Now mine was Canada, so that's not scary at all. Yours was Malaysia. How freaked out were you, especially, talking about paranoia and things like that? When, like, what was your mind frame when that happened, your mindset? I think the laugh tells it all.
I was just really scared, honestly. Like the only thing I felt during that whole period of time was just like fear. I just had like I've always had anxiety my whole life, but I've never had anxiety like that. Like that was like real, genuine, like raw anxiety. I just kept thinking that like I was just gonna like never see the light of day again. That's like the only thing I just kept thinking. I was like, no one's gonna get me out. I'm in here forever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
My main concern was I hope my mom doesn't find out. I still
Oh,
have
really?
never told her because it happened while we were on
Really?
tour and she wasn't there. And if she watches this, she'll find out now. Like my dad knows and everybody, but I was just like, in that moment, I was like, oh God, if my mom finds out, I don't care about border control. She's going to kill me. Um,
Really?
but
My parents were like the first people I called. I was like, oh no. I was like, I'm getting arrested. Like, please just like get me out. Please get me out.
oh my God. Yeah, that would be scarier, especially where you were. But
Yeah, it
before we
was.
wrap this up, I'm sure a lot of people want to know because you have a couple shows you're doing now. Is there a Maggie Lindemann tour potentially coming up as you, the main event, headlining it?
So hopefully soon. Yeah, I have like my first two headlining shows this month, I guess now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like my first time headlining. So like I don't know, it's really cool. I'm really excited. But yeah, hopefully from here we can go on tour.
I mean, your two
Maybe.
shows sold out like that. So I think that
Which
tells
is
enough.
so crazy, which is just so crazy. Yeah.
Well,
That's
thank
one
you
of
so much for being on the show, sending us the performance you did. Not only do I appreciate, but everybody watching it, this appreciates it. We will definitely keep up to date on if you have that tour coming up. We'll be sure to spread the word when it happens. And just thank you again for being here and talking with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Have a good one.